Hey RATBAGGERS, it's Jade. Today I'm going to show you how to get all the wizard gear in the Emerald Stairs and whether or not it's better than the stuff that you can find in Dawnshore. Basically, the Arcanist versus the Warmage. Which of these sets of armour should you be wearing if you're going to be a wizard? Also, how to get hold of one of the unique wands, the first one that you'll be able to pick up in the game, plus a really powerful grimoire that if you unlock the right spells is really OP. It's a bit of a warning straight away. You need to head to Fjord to go ahead and buy a piece of the Warmage gear set, the bracers, otherwise you won't get a chance to find it later on. I don't really want to spoil it, but I'll just say this now, that at some point some of the traders inside Fjord won't be available after a certain point in the game. I have covered this in a previous video. Short answer, don't complete the main quest at the RATBAGGERS grounds until you've gone and completed a bunch of side quests in the town of Fjord, as well as, bought anything unique that you see here. There's like 3 or 4 traders, yet you'll only be having to have access to one of them at a certain point in the game. If you head over to the Gifted Magpie, you can find and buy the bracers from this guy. They cost 1500 gold and it's the one unique item that you can get, plus the treasure map actually for another armor set, which is good for carrying capacity. And if you head to the trader directly to the south, this one will have a unique wand, and it's one of the only unique ones you'll find in the first 2 zones. Remembering that unique gear always has additional buffs and benefits compared to regular weapons and armor, so it's always worth seeking out. Manoletta's Conduit does 39 physical damage, 32 stun, 12 stamina cost and 6% critical hit chance. Also has a 5% attack damage increase and 30% maximum range in the wand hits. Plus wands hitting will do 10% bonus shot damage. So by a country mile, this wand is better than any of the ones that you'll find in the Dawnshore area, and like I said, there's not many other ones better than it in the Emerald Stairs unless they're exceptional. But again, they won't have the added bonuses that you can see here. In fact, this is only one of maybe 3 unique ones in the entire game. The other 2 you won't find until you get to the next zone and then the zone after. So I'm not saying don't upgrade another wand. Absolutely, if you're a mage user, you might need to really get anywhere through the actual first zone and part of the second. But for sure, once you get to the point that you can buy this with 3700 gold, I definitely think it's worth it. You can check out the other traders as well to see if there's any other unique gear that you might want to pick up, like I said, just in case, because so many of them you won't be able to access once you've got to a certain point in the story. And I'm pretty much just getting this one out of the way since we talked mostly about the armor. But yes, if you go ahead and want to enchant it, you'll be able to go ahead and increase its attack damage by 10%, giving 60% maximum wand range. Or you can choose to have stun that will deal moderate stun to nearby enemies instead. The one trader that you will still be able to buy stuff from is the farmer's market trader. Just bear that in mind. Which I will talk about as an alternative for your mage gear, as actually something you might want to try out if you're looking for the most amount of essence. Anyway, back to the Warmage bracers. You get 10% minus ability essence cost plus 15% shock damage, making these some of the better bracers in the game for mage users. Now if it turns out you can buy the Warmage bracers from someone else later, do let me know, but I had a good look around for the right trader again, I couldn't find them. Well, someone else you do need to go and visit is the trader that is at the RATBAGGERS area. And you can actually do this without going ahead and completing the quest and the main story, as this is where you can go ahead and buy the Warmage robes. They're pretty pricey at 5,250. The Researcher's Relief does also sell a bunch of other pretty much high level exceptional weapons and grimoires, particularly if you want to go down the route of focusing on one element over another, like being a fire mage or being a storm mage or an ice one. But I never really recommend that. I always think it's better to have one of each kind of element at your disposal. But the robes themselves have slightly less damage reduction than compared to any of the Gambesons. You get 18 additional damage reduction, then minus 20 maximum stamina and minus 10 maximum essence, which makes you think they're better than the Gambeson, but they're not. The bonuses for this are that you get 3% extra damage reduction, pretty much making it the same as the Gambeson, and then 2 additional points of damage reduction. You also get a 15% plus ability cast speed. The boots, you need to head north across the river. You'll find a cave here. It's directly north of the Fjord town and just to the west of the abandoned farms. You'll see a waterfall with a large branch going across it, and the Valiant boots are on a small little outcrop of island nearby as well. I'll be showing that off in another video, so don't worry. You really can't miss it. It is next to a fast travel point as soon as you get up here. And you're going to run into the Paradise resistance fighters, and depending on what decision you made in Dawnshore, maybe you meet up again with a certain person. In the main room, once you've explored some of this and got some loot from some other chests, just behind them there'll be a special chest with the Mage boots in it. 15 max essence, while dodging has a 10% chance to restore 20 essence. Let's directly compare the robes to the gambeson. So bottom line, they both have exactly the same damage reduction. In fact, the Warmage robe will have a little bit more because of them extra points, even though it looks on the surface like it's got less. The Arcanist gambeson's got better maximum stamina, but only by 5 points. But for sure, it's got better maximum essence use at 22 extra points for you. 248 with the gambeson on, and only 226 with the robes on. What about when it comes to the actual buffs? Well, it does say that the Arcanist gambeson gives you 15% extra AOE. And I tried this like for like, not move in position with a bunch of different spells, comparing both armor sets, and honestly there really isn't much a difference, if at all, in spells that you cast using your grimoire. Instead, this affects the rings of spells that go around you, I do believe. If there's honestly a difference, it's absolutely minimal that you can see, at least from the effects. So it's pretty obvious. If you're going to be using your grimoire as your main kind of weapon and maybe a wand, I would totally go with the robes. The extra damage reduction makes it a bit harder for you to get hurt, and absolutely you'll be casting spells a lot quicker. But go ahead and use the actual gambeson if you are someone that's going to be using your grimoire alongside a melee weapon. It does seem like it should be better to use the robes because it's got less of a penalty for your essence, but the actual gambeson does have a bonus attribute of extra 20 essence, so it pretty much reduces the penalty that you had originally. That quicker cast speed can come in handy for sure, but if you're still using the arcane veil regularly, that stops your actual casting from being interrupted, and I think that's still definitely better to use alongside the gambeson rather than the robes. I mean, you should be using it always with any kind of magic gear that you're using anyway. And since we're talking about the main armour, I might as well now compare the animancers swallowtail. This is the armor set you can buy from the farmers market NPC before the events that stop you from accessing some of the other traders, or after. On the face of it, this sounds like a bad armor set for maybe magic users and maybe more range, because you've got 20 maximum stamina penalty plus 20 maximum essence penalty. But it does come with a couple of extra damage reduction percentage points, which make it better than the other previous armors we spoke about. On top of that, you get 15 extra carry capacity and you get 40 maximum essence. So regardless if you're using it purely as a magic user or more for your other ranged abilities or your fighter abilities, this is actually a really good one because you do gain additional maybe 2 spells or 1 spell usage out of it. So just something to consider as, I guess, slight alternative. And don't forget, of course, you can use the transmogrifier to make everything look exactly how you want it. Let's face it, the gambeson, I don't know, it's like a quilted vest top. I definitely prefer the robe look. But of course, what about the other pieces? There's no set bonuses, so you can mix and match. With a minus 10 ability essence cost plus 15% shock damage, the Warmage braces are just about better. I'm going to do a quick reminder just in case you actually missed all the Arcanist gear in Dawnshore. If you pick up the yellow band bounty from obviously Paradise, it will take you to the campsite where you can take on a bunch of the bandits, and inside a small house you will find a chest that's got the actual Warmage robes. It's just to the northeast of Paradise if you're looking still for it on the map, but like I said, it should be located if you picked up the bounty in the market square. And I've obviously spoken at length about what kind of bonuses you get with these. The gauntlets are just to the slight west of the Shriner Road Decker. You'll find a wall across this bridge that you can go ahead and dismantle, and inside there'll be a chest with the gauntlets. Just look to your left as you come up and you'll see it there. They do give 20% maximum essence plus 10% parkour speed. So if you do wear that with the gambeson, that's a massive increase in terms of how much essence you've got. But shocking damage is almost universal in terms of how well you can use it against plenty of enemies that won't necessarily be resistant. I think it's only things like some of the spectres that might be more resistant in the early stages. And then a reminder on the Arcanist boots, you'll find them on top of the lighthouse just as soon as you come out of Claviger's Landing at the start of the game. They only give you a 5% boost in any healing stuff that you're eating or using, plus additional 10% movement speed. So how does that stack up against the Warmage boots? Well, you need to head directly north from Fjord. You'll come across to a waterfall with this branch going across the river. It's pretty much close to the Valium boots that you can pick up on the rock in the middle of the river. And you'll find this fast travel point leading to a cave where the resistance fighters are coming from Paradis. Depending on how you treated the person that tried to kill you in the early stages of the game, you might meet them again or not, but behind the NPCs in the main chamber you'll find a golden chest with the Warmage boots. They give you 15 maximum stamina plus a 10% chance of triggering, giving you 20 essence when you dodge. So for sure I think the Warmage boots are better than the arcane boots. And the gloves, it's a toss up for you honestly. If you're going for max essence, then you're going to use the arcane gloves and the arcane gambeson. Of course, the other added benefit is that a lot of the Warmage stuff is going to be exceptional level, so your other gear might still only be at fine. So which one's better? Well, if I had to go out on a limb, I would say for sure the Arcanist gambeson is probably better to use. You have slightly less protection, but you've got more essence and you've got more maybe reach with some of the spells. So use a grimoire and maybe a sword or a wand and ping any of the defense spells, which mean you'll get a bit of range and be able to burn or freeze enemies if they get too close to you. But I probably would go ahead and use the Warmage gloves and boots instead of the Arcanist stuff. And of course with the ones that I showed you, the unique one. And when it comes to that powerful grimoire, you will need to be level 15 to really get the most out of it. That's because one of the spells you can't actually activate until you get to that level. Or of course sunk 3 points into rank 3 in Grimoire Mastery ability, which automatically gives you the spells at level 15 if you've got the Grimoire for it. We're basically going to go and get the Odd Crueller's Grimoire, if I said that right, which is at another Pargram's cache. Yep, there's one of these pretty much in every zone I think. Directly south of the Delmagon Glade, all the way over to the west. There's a bunch of different ways you can get up here. I'll leave it to you, but when you do, you'll have to take care of a few skeletons. Once you climb top of the ruins, there'll be some more as well. Make sure you do go and check out the chest that's at the bottom, as there'll be a bit of loot in there too. And as you can see, shock damage having heavy resistance from this shadow. I think it's the same for the other ones too. Once they're cleared out though, you explore more of the ruins, jump across this board here, and you'll see a little doorway going down into the keep. You'll need some of the electric seed grenades or a shocking power. Don't forget, I think Giata has a shocking ability too. There'll be another couple of shadows to take care of, and then there'll be a bolted barred door with 2 ways to go, left and right. Also worth pointing out, there is a shed ton of weapons and gear here that you can go ahead and sell, so definitely have a good explore. But either way, left or right from the barred door, again, small doors that will be blocked, you can use the shocking ability to gain access, and you will notice also this wall that can be destroyed with a good blast. I've got the ability that allows me to do it with wands. Just some extra loot, I might as well show it all of you. Don't want you guys missing out on any loot at all. But yeah, if you actually head to the left hand side of the barred door, you should be able to see through a much bigger gap where you can shoot through to the main room with a shock ability. And inside this main room you will find the brand new Grimoire. It's exceptional level, 58 ability cost, 35% cooldown, and it does offer quite a big range of spells. You've got Chill Blades, which are level 1, obviously ice spell, Ring of Fire, which are a level 10 wizard spell, the Returning Storm, also level 10, and the main one, the Pool of Aurora, which is level 15, making it one of the last spells that you can unlock unless you have mastered some of the points into Grimoire Master. Before you leave though, go ahead and activate the other closed room again with more shock spell through this small gap, or shoot ahead the actual electric seed. Run around to the open door and another nice chest filled with awakened Ardra and more. So is it any good? Yeah, absolutely. The awakened aura levitates enemies, and you can levitate a whole bunch of them as you start progressing, ranking it up. Doesn't necessarily do a huge amount of damage to them or anything over time, so you will still need to hit them, but it can just give you a bit of breathing space, and pretty much almost any enemy I think can actually be levitated. The storm spell rains down lightning shards, so that's obviously really good. Pretty wide area effect, and again shot damage apart from Spectre's shadows does quite a lot against universally any other creature. The icicles, again, if you level them up, they can actually go through different enemies and giving still a lot of damage. And you've got your ring of fire for a bit of close protection. Plus I think I've got other stuff locked up which is giving me more bleed damage as well. So all in all, I like this one because it's got all 4 elements. It's got all the styles I like. I'm not a big fan of summon weapons which you got on some of the others. And so yeah, I reckon it's one of the best grimoires in the game. If I could change one thing, it might be that ring of fire to make it maybe just a fire bolt. But like I said, a good mix of everything, defense, offense, and buying yourself some time. I do believe only one of the few grimoires that actually unlocks one of the late game spells like Caura's Paw that you can get for free without having to spend any money. And of course you can buy a whole ton of different grimoires, especially from the research trader at Naku Tedek, yeah, that's the way you say it. As I said, gives you more access to different types if you really want to specialise in one element or another. So I'm not really going to do any direct comparisons between them. I would still say this grimoire I still prefer obviously than the starting ones, but it all just depends on how many points you've been able to put into the grimoire mastery so you can fully utilise them level 10 and 15 spells. So there we go folks, that is pretty much the Emerald Stairs magic user's guide to go and get all the weapons that you can and the armour. It's not gospel, don't get angry at me because I prefer certain pieces of gear to others. Just one man's opinion, you tell me how you're utilising them. I'll totally do another guide like this when we get to the next zones, and do check out my video taking a look at all the dawnshore weapons which include all the grimoires if you're looking for more help with your magic stuff. Until next time, Ratbags, laters.